I'm blanking.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fertility TV. I'm Dr. Marc Sklar, the fertility expert, and today I have the PCOS diva with me, Amy Medling. I'm super excited to have Amy with me again today. And Amy and I have talked many, many times before, and so hopefully you've already are familiar with Amy and you know a little bit about her. But today we're actually talking about Amy's new book that's coming out, Healing PCOS, and I'm super excited to have Amy talk to you about her new book. I've read it, I love it, I'm excited about it for all of you. So Amy, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for having me and sort of helping me spread my message of hope and healing for women with PCOS.
It's an important message, and one, you know, I think that, I mean, we all could use a little bit more hope and healing for sure, but certainly our PCOS community and women absolutely could use that because of all the things that they've been told and made to believe over such a long period of time of dealing with PCOS. So I think it's a wonderful message, and I'm excited to share it. So thanks for being here. I know many of you may have already know a little bit about Amy, but Amy, will you introduce yourself a little bit to the women watching, kind of tell them a little bit about your story and where you came from and how you became the diva that you are?
Oh, sure. I would love to. So I often hear from women with PCOS who are really frustrated, have lost all hope because the only advice their doctors have given them is to lose weight, get to the gym, take a pill, and live with their symptoms. And for much of my life, I was one of those women from as early as age 14 or 15. I started seeing some common symptoms of PCOS: hair loss, hair growth, weight gain, irregular cycles. It really seemed like this was my fate. My mother struggled with many of these symptoms, and both of my grandmothers did as well. It just seemed like this was the genetic fate of women in my family. And fast forward to my freshman year in college, I found myself sitting in this cold exam room and not having my period for months on end, really trying to figure out an answer, wanting to get to that root cause of what was going on. But all the doctor did was renew my prescription for the pill and tell me that they would have to jump through hoops one day to get me pregnant. And that sort of foreshadowing definitely came into play for me. And while I did have my first child with a prescription of Clomid and 1 round of Clomid, I really suffered with secondary infertility. And what that doctor told me that day came back to haunt me. And it wasn't until I was 31 and going through, finally meeting with a reproductive endocrinologist, that I finally got diagnosed with PCOS, 15 years after symptoms had presented itself. And after I had my, both of my beautiful baby boys, I really reached, what I kind of consider as my rock bottom. I was not able to get off the couch most days in the afternoon after lunch. Now I know it's because I was eating all of the wrong things and I was having a huge blood sugar crash. But I was fatigued and low energy and moody and just really not the wife and mother that I wanted to be. And I really couldn't tolerate metformin and didn't want to go back on the pill. So there wasn't, my doctor didn't have a lot to offer me, and I felt way too young to feel so old, and sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and realized that I couldn't be a victim anymore, and I had to sort of take my own healing into my hands. And that's what I did. I spent countless hours scouring the internet for information, and I was able to sort of over time piece together a lifestyle plan for myself that helped me to heal. And basically, my doctor saw my lab results improve, the proof's in the pudding. And she ended up really directing some of her patients that also couldn't tolerate the pharmaceuticals that are offered for women with PCOS my way. And, you know, I kind of got a little bit of a following, and, you know, ended up starting PCOS Diva and helping other women reclaim their fertility, femininity, health, and happiness with PCOS.
You know, I love how you transformed, you know, over this period of time where you started to where you are today, and the evolution of how that happened. And you know, I've heard your story before. I've read it in the book, hearing it today. But every time I hear it, I pick up on something slightly different. And you said something as you were starting off, how when you were in college and you were in that room, and the physician said, "We are going to have to work very hard to get you pregnant." And, you know, what strikes me about that so much is that he was saying, I'm assuming it was a he, but, you know, he was saying that, like, the burden is on them, and that they're going to have to control and manage your situation versus empowering you to be more able and informed about how to control and manage this situation. And oftentimes that's the way we feel, you know, that the way you described your story and evolution is so much of what I'm sure you hear on a regular basis and what I hear on a regular basis. But I think one of the things that is really so beautiful about your book is how it's not about somebody else managing these women with PCOS and their symptoms and this disorder. It's about empowering them and giving them the tools and the ability to change in this 21-day plan to really become more informed, knowledgeable, and able to manage their PCOS. And you know, I mean, certainly the book expresses that, but it was just that wording that you had said and how you said it that really brought that more to light to me. And you know, I know that you've put in so much in putting that information out, but what's one of the key things that comes out in this book that you want to share with everybody about being able to manage and control and treat your PCOS on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I think my real, the message that I want to get across is that women need to know that they are not a victim, that PCOS is not their fate. You know, no matter whether, you know, you're suffering from PCOS isn't their fate, even though, like, my mother has it, my grandmother's probably had it, but it is within your power to heal yourself. But there's no magic pill. And you have to sort of come to the place where you realize that you are the magic pill, and that you can thrive with PCOS when you embrace the power of knowledge, diet, and lifestyle. So that's really, you know, my main message that I want to get across, that the fact that you have PCOS isn't your fault, but choosing to be a victim is. And
So beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say that again for everybody? So
the fact that you have PCOS is not your fault, but choosing to be a victim is. And I think when you were sort of reiterating my story and what that the doctors kind of feeling like they have to take it all on to get you pregnant, well, you've just handed your power away to them. And now you're sort of in this place of being a victim. And the problem with being a victim is the very act of deciding that you are takes away your power. So I really hope that this book gives you the tools that you need, and the hopeful message that you need to sort of take back your power.
You know, you and I are going to talk a lot more right now about your book and the message in it. But if you stopped watching right now and all you took away was that message, I mean, just for me, I've got the chills. I'd be running to go get this book, right? I mean, we all go through life, and it's really interesting. And for a very long time, I was the same way with all my digestive issues over my lifetime. Is I associated my life with that, right? And we all have things that we grab onto and we want to tag ourselves with, right? And that what you're saying here is, for us not to tag ourselves with PCOS, right? Not to be this victim or let ourselves be associated with this, but really finding the hope and the positivity around this and reversing that negative into a positive is the way I take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I frame this as thinking like a diva. And, people have asked me, well, why didn't you just jump into, what do you eat when you have PCOS? Because that seems like, the first place that you start. But honestly, I really beg the reader many times, don't jump right to the plan. You really have to start to learn how to think like a diva first. And I think one of the first things to sort of move yourself out of that victim mindset is to decide that you can thrive with PCOS, and to realize that there are, to live in the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that most women, and I'm saying this from my own personal experience, and now working with thousands literally of women through my online programs and one-on-one coaching, and I've taken all of that experience and really dialed into what women with PCOS experience. And I think most of them approach life from a place of lack. And what I mean by that is they feel like they are not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is, even just from the PCOS symptoms, it's sort of, we get a sense that it robs us of our femininity. We're not enough as women. We, have these infertility challenges where, losing hair where we want it and growing it where we don't. And we don't have that hourglass figure that is envied by, today's culture. So we feel very much that we are not enough. And we also really fight making positive changes, because I think we feel like maybe deep down we don't deserve to take extra special care of ourselves, tender loving care of ourselves. So we sort of make up excuses that there's not enough time, there's not enough money to, buy the produce or the supplements or everything that we need. So moving from that lack mentality to a more abundant mindset is so critical, and I feel like is one of the first steps to reclaiming your health and life.
Such an important message, whether you have PCOS or not. That message is such a big piece. It's something that I try to talk about with my patients quite often. So, I mean, you said it so beautifully, and certainly for PCOS women, it's a really important message nonetheless. Now, I know we both agree in so many aspects on this journey when it comes to PCOS, and oftentimes we often talk about all the kind of negative things that are associated with PCOS. What are some of the positive things that are associated with PCOS?
Oh, I love that you asked that question. And I actually end the book on that sort of upbeat, positive note, because there really is, there are a lot of positives. And I really owed sort of this shift in mindset to a wonderful PCOS pioneer. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Marc, but Dr. Nancy Dunn. She's a naturopath out in, I think it's Minnesota. And she wrote, a really wonderful book years ago. But I have had the extreme pleasure of talking to her on many occasions. And she's a woman with PCOS. And she really frames it as women with PCOS, because of our biology, we are sort of the survivors, that our biology would allow us in times of famine to survive. And we're highly sensitive. I talk about this in the book, and very attuned to, emotions, and that we would be the ones that would be able to kind of keep everybody's children alive when, our friends were dropping like flies. because we would survive the famine, and that we're these, really strong, emotional, sensitive women. And I thought that was really interesting. But anyway, I just had to share that. But we have high levels of androgen. So, we're that higher androgen oftentimes makes us more competitive. And there's studies in there that women with high levels of androgen, make better, leaders, and are more driven. And I think that's a real benefit of being a high androgen woman. I don't know if I would have been able to, do what I've done with PCOS Diva if, I wasn't, so driven. And there's, studies that show that we actually have, stronger, possibly stronger bones. And around fertility, our fertility seems to last longer than women without PCOS. Perhaps we have, research indicates we may have a higher ovarian reserve, or we maintain our fertility longer because maybe in our youth we're not ovulating as much as non-PCOS peers. So there's a lot of benefits of being a strong woman, a high androgen woman with PCOS. So I've definitely have come to the point where, I view PCOS as a blessing. First of all, it was a wake-up call for me, in my early 30s that, it was time that I had to start shifting and taking care of myself and my body. And, and now I'm going to be 47, and I can tell you, I'm grateful that I had that wake up call, and, I feel great now that I'm in my late 40s. So, there's a lot of benefits.
Yeah, I agree. And I wholeheartedly believe that women with PCOS can and should get pregnant naturally, even though we're often made to believe that that's not the case, and we need all this medication or IVF and so forth. For many of the same reasons that you just mentioned is why I believe that. So I think that's great. So in the book, a lot of what you kind of set out to do, and why, what over the course of these 21 days is to start to change habits and routines, but you break it up into 3 parts in the book. Can you kind of go into some of that a little bit?
Sure. So the 3 steps, or three weeks of the program, or I call them Discover and Live and Thrive. So in Discover Week, we're going to really start working on that mindset piece. And I give you daily little lessons on how to really start shifting your mindset. But that's accompanied with teaching you how to eat like a diva. And I have never been a big fan about counting carbs and calories. I mean, I think I like the more intuitive approach to eating, and really getting in touch with how food makes you feel. Because I could certainly, it'd be easy for me to give you a list of things not to eat. But I think it's so important to start to make proactive choices based on how food makes you feel. Because if you know that, gosh, eating an ice cream sundae is going to make me feel like crap, I'm going to be bloated and really logy and irritable. I love my body enough not to treat it that way at this point. And so that's what I want women reading this book, is to get to the point where they understand how food affects them physically and mentally, and make those proactive choices, and realizing, this is a big takeaway too, that you're always one choice away from getting back on track. So this isn't a program that's about perfection. I achieved my lifelong Weight Watchers badge years ago, and I remember that idea of getting the exact amount of points. If I blew them all on Monday, I would sort of throw in the towel till the following Monday to have a fresh slate. Well, you never need a fresh slate with this plan. You just make the next choice a positive one, whether it's a deep breath, a glass of water, a walk around the block. You're always one choice away from getting back on track. So we work on the mindset and the food piece in the first week, and then in the live week we layer on movement. And I like to frame exercise in sort of this idea of just moving your body in ways that feel good, because I think it takes that stigma for many women of exercise out of it. So we sort of explore ways of adding more movement to your day. And then finally in Thrive Week, we layer on more of like that stress reducing mindfulness aspect. And I call it creating mindful moments in your day. So I take you through some really fun, interesting, easy mindfulness exercises in the third week. And all of those things are layered around a 21-day meal plan with, I tell you exactly how to prep for the next day, which I think is really helpful for a lot of women. And then the book includes 85 recipes. There's 40 fan favorites from my 400 plus recipes in my meal plans that I've taken. And then I've developed some new ones for the book as well.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, the two takeaways from everything you just said, and I, before I actually even get to that, just the way you broke down the book, because everyone would think, oh, you always just start with diet and supplements, because that's the easy part. That's what everybody wants. I don't know. I can't say it's easy, but that's the part that people expect, and they want to start there. But it's so powerful, because without the right mindset, all we end up seeing is those patients, they start and they do some of those things, but they never fully succeed because they don't have the right mindset to keep them going when things don't work out, because invariably everything's not going to always be perfect, or they're going to lose that momentum. So I think, just starting with that mindset is so powerful and important for everybody. And then on top of it, I love, because I always talk about this, like the not counting calories. When I talk about meal plans and meals and food with patients, they're always like, so how many calories should I be eating? I'm like, I don't know. Because I don't count calories. And so I for me, when I was reading and going through that part of the book, I personally connected with it, because it's not something that I think we should all be doing. We're not meant to count calories. We're meant to just eat food when we need them, and we just need to make the right choices and trust in ourselves and listen to our body. So I really love that piece. And certainly the one step away is so powerful for everybody, because just like you mentioned, if we're all going to get off, we're not going to be perfect, and we're going to have slip ups or weeks that are hard, but just that one step to getting back on track makes so much of a difference in terms of mindset to get somebody moving back onto the track and the path that they need to go. So I thought that was fantastic to me, and key things that I took away, not only from what you said, but when I was reading the book.
Yeah, sustainability is so important for women with PCOS. It's easy. I know keto diet is just huge right now in the PCOS community. And, I do think that for some women, it can really help them drop some weight quickly. But gosh, eating that way, is that sustainable over the course of a lifetime? I mean, as women with PCOS, there is no cure. I think there's a healing continuum, but there is no cure. And you have to manage it over the course of a lifetime. And I know that I could not, go on like kind of a crazy restrictive diet for the rest of my life. It just would feel very, I talk about kind of getting out of that diet deprivation and denial mindset. Again, that's that whole lack mentality. And I really, my intent for this book is that it becomes a sustainable lifestyle for somebody beyond the 21 days and beyond. And I think we do that by not counting calories and everything you just talked about.
It's huge. Because if you look at the title of the book or the, you know, the tagline in this 21-day plan, I think it's easy for us to get caught up and say, oh, I'll be fixed in 21 days. Right. And just like you said, it's not. And this is something that needs to be maintained. And I like the way you said this, you know, healing continuum, you know, that you start here, but the goal is just to continually always get better and maintain, but not be deprived, and, you know, make it as easy and manageable as possible. And I think that's really, really important for everyone who's reading this book, because they're always about restricting and putting themselves in these boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also talk in the book about how important it is to plan mindful indulgences for yourself. You know, a diva, there's a wonderful quote that I included in the book from Terry Trapesco, which I think we both met at Mindshare. Believe it, she used to write for Whole Living magazine, but she said, an indulgence is an opportunity to experience pure pleasure. And you know, women with PCOS, we need pleasure, and food can be extremely pleasurable if we, you know, really approach it in a mindful way. And, you know, I use this example of like a Snickers bar. You know, I can't tell you how many times when I was in that sort of deprivation place that I would, in the grocery, you know, I'd have this grocery cart full of fat-free, sugar-free foods that were really just garbage, nothing that was truly delicious. And I'd go through the grocery aisle and I'd pick up the Snickers bar and kind of throw it on the conveyor belt, thinking nothing, like nobody else was looking, and then carefully put it in my purse, you know, so nobody would see it, and then eat it in the car and stuff the wrapper under my seat and pretend that the whole episode didn't happen. And it wasn't, you know, and I think I subliminally was getting that advertising message that Snickers really satisfies, right? but that wasn't a satisfying experience or indulgence. And, you know, now there's a chocolate company, it's called Lake Champlain Chocolates in Vermont. Oh my gosh, their truffles are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like they're high quality chocolates. And, you know, if I'm going to have one of those, I really sit down very mindfully and enjoy the whole experience. And it's satisfying, you know, to my soul. And that's how a diva should enjoy a piece of chocolate, with full permission. And that's what I try and teach in the book, that there's room for you know, delicious, beautiful, wonderful, indulgent food if it's eaten in with the right mindset.
Yeah. It brings back a story, a memory for me. So I was on a very restrictive diet, kind of cleaning things up and taking care of my digestive system. And I'm originally from Miami, so we flew back home, and my father has a Cuban restaurant on Miami Beach. So we're eating, and this was when all the food truck craze was going crazy. And right outside, they had, right along the beach, they had all this little food truck gathering and so forth. And so afterwards, after we ate, my family and I were just walking around and just checking it out. I mean, we didn't need to eat, we just ate, right? So we were just walking around, and there was a food truck of gelato on a stick. And I love ice cream. I love gelato. So I walked up to the truck, and I looked at what I wanted. I was like, I'm going to savor and enjoy every last bite of this, and I'm going to feel awesome, and it's okay. Because I was such on a restrictive diet. So I grab it, and my son at the time, he must have been 3 or something, I don't even remember, comes up and he says, Daddy, can I have some? I'm like, you can have your own, but you can't have mine. This one's mine. I'll buy you yours. And it was just, so I always come back to that moment when I'm talking to patients about finding balance and going into something, you know, if you're going to have that gelato ice cream and feel terrible about it and feel guilty, you know, the feeling guilty part is so much worse than the eating of it, right?
Yeah.
Go into it with this mindset, like, it's okay for me to indulge in this and eat it. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and we deserve pleasure, and that, you know, it's it's just such an important part of the human experience, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In all
Mm-hmm.
aspects, not just in
Yeah.
food, but
Right.
in, touch and life and in
Mm-hmm.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a really important, powerful, hopeful message. I think for everybody, if there's one thing I want you to take out of what Amy's saying is setting up the right habits for ourselves and making this plan, this 21 days of kind of setting yourself up for success. So that way, beyond the 21 days, you've laid this foundation to be successful beyond, but also give you the flexibility to have some movement, to indulge on occasion and enjoy life to its fullest. So I really, really love that message. Any last minute things that you want to mention about the book before we say goodbye to everybody?
Well, one thing that I feel, I wish that I could put the community aspect of doing a program in a community of other women with PCOS, which is what we do in my online programs. There's something so empowering and powerful about supporting one another. And I wasn't able to do that, obviously, in the book. But what I am going to do is, if you pre-purchase the book, and even during publication week, which the book is coming out on May 1st, you can do, I'm calling it the Healing PCOS Book Club, and it's a Facebook group Facebook group that I will invite you to if you pre-purchase the book. And on May 14th, we'll be going through the book together and the 21-day plan together. And I'll be, your cheerleader and guide and supporting you, every step of the way. And I put together a beautiful companion workbook with that you're just going to really enjoy writing in and doing the discussion prompts. And I've also put together meal plan templates and lots of great stuff in that companion workbook. And you can get both of those bonuses at healingpcos.com, along with a bonus chapter on detoxification, and that we couldn't fit in the book, and a spring meal plan that you can get started with, right away while you're waiting for the book to come out. So really excited about those bonuses. And again, they're all available at healingpcos.com.
That's awesome. So for everyone, again, check out the book, jump onto Amazon and pre-purchase it. And if you do, then Amy's going to give you all those wonderful bonuses. And on top of it, I mean, if it's not a bonus in and of itself and an impetus to run out and get it, you get to join her on May 14th and do the 21 days together to get started and moving on, changing and empowering your PCOS. So hopefully you all will go out and check out the book. It's wonderful. I've already read it. Amy, thanks so much for.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to chat with you today.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a pleasure. I'm sure we'll be talking some more in the future. And as we get closer to the book release, we'll send out some more reminders for everybody as well. So thank you for joining me, Amy. Thank all of you for listening and joining us today. If you want any more information on Fertility TV and PCOS and Amy's book, then join my newsletter at marksklar.com/newsletter, and leave any comments below in this video, any questions you have, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Until the next episode of Fertility TV. Bye, everyone.
Are you looking for a fertility coach? Are you looking for someone to guide you with your personal needs one-on-one? Well, that can be me. If you want more information on that, check it out right here.